Hare Krishna. Today we are going to start the revision of chapter number 2 of Bhagavad Gita. We have already seen in chapter number 1 that towards the end, Arjun refuses to fight and he keeps aside his Gandhi. And that is the end of chapter number 1. And from there, the chapter number 2 starts. And before we start that, let's do the Mangla Arti and ask some blessings from our acharyas and gurus to ensure that they can bestow their wisdom on us and we can learn something new as it is as mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So here it goes. Vande Shri Guru Shri Yudpat Kamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagan Raghunathavincham Tasajivam Sadvaitam Swabditam Parijan Sahit Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakha Tavishant Om Agyantrimantasya Gyanan Shalakya Chakshurunalvintam Yen Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama Namo Mahavatanyay Krishna Prem Padayate Krishnay Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gotvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinubandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I do my Danvat Pranam to my Diksha Guru, Shri Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj Ji, and thereafter my Danvat Pranam to all my Shiksha Guru and to all the listeners who are going to be listening to this audio and video after this recording is finished. And my Yatha Yog Danvat Pranam to everybody. So there we go from chapter number 1 onwards. Here now Krishna does not speak at all because all the time Arjun is speaking about his Gyan as if he is a Pandit, he knows everything. So he continues his story, his view of points. Then towards the end of his speaking too much and seeing that Krishna Bhagavan Ji is not speaking at all, then he realizes that now he has to change his stance from a friend to his disciple. So he surrenders to Krishna Bhagavan Ji. In Shlok number 7, from that he says, I am now surrendered to you. You show me the path. I am distressed. I am lost. I do not know the way ahead. Please guide me in the path. Then from Shlok number 10 onwards, and Krishna Bhagavan Ji then accepts him as his disciple and Arjun accepts him as his guru. Then only Krishna Bhagavan Ji starts speaking. So here the learning for us, all of us, is that whenever in distress, we must have a guru in our life. We cannot lead our spiritual life without a guru. We must have a guru. And the guru also gives gyan or gives benevolence to his disciple only once he finds that the disciple has fully surrendered. So till Arjun was speaking his own gyan, his own views, as if he is the most learned person, Krishna Bhagavan Ji did not give any advice. He did not speak at all. Only once he surrendered, he now guide me. I accept you as my guru. Please show me the path. Then Krishna Bhagavan Ji starts speaking. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, the Shlok number 1 to 10, where Arjun accepts Krishna Bhagavan Ji as a guru. Then from Shlok number 11 to 30, Krishna Bhagavan Ji starts speaking. He starts speaking and to remove his doubts. So Arjun was all the time saying that his friends and relatives and gurus and his grandfathers, parents, uncles, and other known people, they would be fighting against him and he will have to kill them. Then only he can win over them. To remove this doubt, Krishna Bhagwanji then gives him the Gyan, what is called as Sankhya Yoga, the relation with the body and the soul, that we are not a body, but we are a soul. And these things are given in shlok number 12, 13, 14, and 20. Allow me to read them out for you because these are quite important shloks. So, and we must uh, give due respect to these shloks. The shloks goes like this. Na tvaham jatu na asam na tvam na me janatipika na chaiv na bhavishyam sarve vayam ati param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, Kishan Bhagwanji says to Arjun. And there was never a time when you did not exist. Nor all these kings who are in the battlefield, they did not exist. They were there all the time. And never will there be any time in future also when these people will not exist. Meaning the soul goes on. Soul is eternal. The body perishes. So there was never a time when the soul was not there. There was never a time when the soul will not be there. You were always there, I was always there, and all these kings were also there. So that is the first thing Guru gives Gyan to his disciple as to who am I. I'm not a body, I'm a soul. Then further Kishan Bhavanji says in Shlok number 13, Dehno asmin yatha dehe kumaram yunam jara tatha dehanta prapte dhirastatra na moheti. After the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. O sober person, O Arjun, this is not to be bewildered by such a change. When the body changes from boyhood to childhood, from childhood to boyhood, and to youth, and then to old age, and then passes on to another body at the time of death, you should not be confused. This is how the srishti goes. This is how the life goes on. Don't be confused. Then further Kishan Bhagwanji says in Shlok number 14, Matra spashtu konteya sitoshna sukha dukha daha agomo apaino anityastam stetitva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance and disappearance and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So he says to Arjun, you were talking of Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama and other relatives on the other side, on the enemy side. They are in any case going to die. You cannot save them. So learn to tolerate about their so-called death. Their soul will not die. Only their body will die. They will get a new body. So tolerate all these things. Right? So no lament. There is no question of lamenting. Then further Bhagwanji says, the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. The soul is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. And in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So do not fear also. The soul will continue. So in the next part, after Krishnji accepts him as the disciple, Krishna Bhagwanji tells his disciple Arjun about the Sankhya Yoga, which is the relationship of the body and the soul being eternal. So having done this, having given this knowledge, then Krishna Bhagwanji further says, you are talking as if you are a Pandit. How did you become an important person? So he, as a friend, calls him important. Why are you acting like an important person? Why are you not fighting? That is your Kshatriya duty. So this is how he encourages him to fight, in spite of all his what you call moho. So Krishna Bhagwanji then continues, and then he tells them, "You have to conquer these enemies. They are already done. Now go and fight and take all the credit as if you are going to win the battle. And behind this is me. Go and fight. That is your duty, and go and do that." So further, after having learned this knowledge as to who am I'm not a body, but I am a soul. Then Krishna Bhagwanji goes further. And in shlok number 31 to 53, Bhagwanji talks about the two duties of a human being. The first one being Swadharma, and the second one being Sanatana Dharma. The Swadharma is the duty towards the one's family and friends and the social and the society in which he is. He has certain duties about them. He has to maintain them. He has to act according to that. And in the case of Arjun, he has to fight as a Kshatriya. That is his duty. And then simultaneously, a human being also has a duty towards spirituality, Sanatana Dharma, to do what is called Nishkam Karma Yoga, to service Krishna Bhagwanji, to do everything which pleases Krishna Bhagwanji. So that is Swadharma. So every human being has to focus on two duties. One is the duty of about Swadharma, about his family, about his relatives, friends, and then the duty towards spirituality or Sanatana Dharma. The best course of action is mid path. You do your Sanatan duties also, and you do your Swadharma also. And in this way, live a balanced life. The mid path is the best way of living, and then only you will realize as to what is Krishna Bhagwanji wisdom of expecting from his disciple. So this is what we learn, that we have to be on the most progressive path, and that is to be fully alert of our both the duties. And in doing this, we will lead a very happy and a balanced life. So what is the result of a person who has learned all these things? This is given in shlok number 54 to 72. Bhagwanji then gives his final wisdom about Bhagavad Gita. The main part of the Gyan is as good as a gist or the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. The chapter is titled also The Contents of the Gita Summarized. So from shlok number 54 to 72, Krishna Bhagwanji gives Gyan or wisdom to Arjun as to how he should live. He should control his senses and focus all his actions to serve the Lord. And one who is able to control his senses, he is able to find and reach Krishna Bhagwanji. In this between, Krishna Bhagwanji very beautifully explains about the lust. And then Krishna Bhagwanji says that lust is the cause of all the problems in a person. Just because a person is too much attracted towards material things for self-enjoyment, for the enjoyment of his senses, and he's all the time acting to obtain more and more of material things so that he can live a very comfortable and a luxurious life. And lust, this is all because of the lust, the crave for these things. And when his wishes are not fulfilled, when his lust is not fulfilled, he's not in control of his buddhi or the brains or the mind. and then he is not able to take the right decisions when he is not in control of his buddhi. Then he makes mistakes, he commits sin, and therefore the repeated cycle of birth and death continues. So this is all because of the lust. So one has to control the lust. This is given in Shlok number 62 and 63. Very beautifully, Krishna Bhagwanji gives a message to the world. Control your lust. Then Bhagwanji in between also talks about the Karma Kand and the Buddhi Yoga and the Gyan Yoga. So all this Gyan is given towards the end of this chapter. And ultimately, Krishna Bhagwanji says the one who has learned to serve the Lord and to forget everything else, then he reaches the stage of Atmaramna. Atmaramna, peace within himself. He is able to look within himself. He does not look towards the world for the sake of enjoyment of his sense, for obtaining more and more comforts and luxuries for his sense gratifications. He is all the time looking within himself, where Krishna Bhagwanji or Paramatma lives. He finds peace. Such a person reaches the stage of Atma. So that is Shlok number 54 to 72, ladies and gentlemen. So to conclude, in the first 10 shloks, Shlok number 1 to 10, Krishna Bhagwanji gives the importance of the Guru. And then from Shlok number 11 to 30, Krishna Bhagwanji tells his disciple Arjun as to who am I? Who is a living being? Is not a body and the soul. This is called, the knowledge is called Sankhya Yoga. The soul can never be slain. What are you talking of, Arjun? Of you killing your Bhishma Pitama or to Dronacharya or to Karana and to Duryodhan. You cannot kill them. The soul cannot be killed. It will live on. It will live on. So that is from Shlok number 31 to 50, from Shlok number 11 to 30. And then from Shlok number 31 to 53, Krishna Bhagwanji tells about the two duties. Swadharma, the duty towards one's family and friends and other relatives. That is, one has to do the duties as prescribed in the scriptures, as prescribed in our Vedas Shastras. And that is nothing else but what we call Varnashram, the four Varnas and the four ashrams. One has to work according to them. The four Varnas and the four ashrams being the person who is in the mode of learning stage, in the beginning stage, he is learning as a student all the time. And then comes the family type or Grihastha ashram. And then comes the, what you call, the stage where one withdraws from the world. And then comes the finally the Samadhi. And then one totally is focused from on Krishna Bhagwanji and is totally withdrawn from himself. The Brahmacharya, and then comes the Grihastha ashram, then comes the Vanprasth, and then comes the Sanatan, what you call the Sadhu Sannyas. So these are the four ashrams. And then comes the four Varnas, and that is the Brahman, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and the Shudras. So that is the duties one has to follow. This is how one person has to live. That is called Varnashram, thus as prescribed in our scriptures. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, our dear devotees, and the chapter number 2, the four things which we have learned quickly once again: the adoption of a guru, and then the second is the who am I, not a body but a soul, and the third one, the two duties, the Swadharma and the Sanatan Dharma, and lastly, the Atmaramna. Forget about conquer your lust and look within where Paramatma is. Worship your Paramatma who's living within. Don't have your eyes and what you call attraction towards the material things. Just simply withdraw yourself from the material world and start worshipping your own Paramatma who's living inside, and you will reach the utmost peace, and gradually you will reach the Goloka Vrindavana. So thank you very much for being with me, and we shall continue. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.